Hello. I want to talk to you a little bit about bad faith and my experience with State Farm Insurance as a first party claim, meaning that it's my own insurance company, it's not someone else's. And I've been stuck with bad faith from day one. You know, first I called my agent. I tried to find out how to file a claim, and I got stonewalled by the agent. They just give me the runaround. And I finally had to go online to find out who to call to report my claim. It took me about 2 weeks to get my claim reported. It's my understanding that bad faith is considered any unreasonable delay or denial of an insurance claim. Okay, I finally got a hold of some lady in some, I don't know, one of their service centers. My claims were assigned to some special investigative unit, and this lady was just harassing me from day one. And there's no better way to put it than pure harassment. I told her that I needed to have an adjuster come out and inspect my vehicles. I had 3 vehicles damaged from vandalism. And she flat out refused. She said, "We're not spending money to send somebody out there." Just real cynical. And about 3 weeks goes by, and I draft a letter to the State Insurance Commission, which is in North Carolina, because the claim was written in North Carolina. This lady is in somewhere in Virginia, I believe. She wouldn't even tell me where her office is located. And as soon as that letter was received by the State Insurance Commission, it had 3 separate letters in it, one for each vehicle. They were very detailed to the extent of the damage, the cause of the damage, and what repairs were necessary. As soon as that letter was faxed to State Farm, they had somebody there within 2 days. See, I find that to be very, very disturbing, because I've been waiting a month for somebody to evaluate my vehicles. I was told on the phone to rent a car, and these vehicles should not be driven. Okay, so why has it taken 30 days for somebody to even come out and look at the damage? If I'm expected to rent a car, I'm expected to pay $200 a week to rent a car so I can go to my job that pays $200 a week. That makes no sense at all. And they sent some guy out. He's an instructor for State Farm Insurance to identify and spot fraud cases. So they sent out some guy to determine my claims of fraud, because they believe they are unreasonable or there's no foundation. And this is just another attempt on them to deny my claim because they don't want to spend the money. It doesn't have anything to do with the merit of the claim. It has to do with the fact that State Farm refuses to pay on a claim because it's a lot of money. Got a legal dictionary here. I'm gonna read something out of it to you. It's under the heading of bad faith. Generally implying or involving actual or constructive fraud, or a design to mislead or deceive another, or a neglect or refusal to fulfill some duty or some contractual obligation. Okay, I watched this guy come out on his second time. I mean, my claim was filed the 15th, or I believe the 13th of May. My damages occurred in April, and through a diagnostic process, it was determined that there was dirt and liquid soap poured in all the fluids under the hood, including the fuel tanks, on 3 vehicles. 2 engines destroyed, the brake system's destroyed on all 3 vehicles, and I've got a restoration project that had dirt poured in a replacement engine. Had less than 1 hour runtime on it, and the oil in it was as gritty as using a household cleanser. It just felt like there was sand in it. Okay, And I've got one vehicle that I just purchased. Within 500 miles, the transmission messed up. And when the transmission was serviced, there was dirt that drained out of the transmission. The bucket it was drained into, when it was dumped out, there was a heavy sand residue on the side of the bucket that come out of the fluid. And the filter was cut open. The felt liner inside was completely saturated with some kind of sand. Completely abnormal. Now back to the investigation that State Farm did. They sent out some guy that's about 70 years old, 70 or 80 years old. He had white hair, and he gets out his little fluid hand pump to take samples, and his little hand pump is completely wore out. I'm surprised it even worked. And I'm watching him, and he's taking his samples, and he don't have the hand dexterity to operate that pump, and he's getting frustrated because the hose keeps coming out of the fluid, or it's not picking it up. And I'm watching this, and I'm starting to question if he even has the ability to do mechanical repairs. I saw some test equipment in the back of his truck, and he never even hooked it up to my engine to determine if it was bad. He just took his oil samples, mailed them off to some lab. They did some real basic testing on it. It was crap, pure crap. And I took some samples of these same fluids, and I sent them to 2 different labs. One of them was Polaris Labs in Indianapolis, I believe, and they did a very comprehensive test on some oil that had 200 miles of use on it. The sample was collected out of the filter. It was the only remaining sample left of that fluid. And their first result come back said it's normal. We didn't see any abnormalities, and that's exactly what State Farm said. On the clean fluids they tested. Yes, they tested clean fluids after these fluids had been changed and washed out, because it took them so long to come out. And I got a hold of the people at Polaris Labs, and I said, you take this sample and you run a particle count on it. So they did, and they upgraded their rating from normal to critical just by doing a second test on it. They actually looked at the amount of particulate matter in that fluid, and it was, I've never seen anything like it in the 20 years I've been doing mechanical work. And I do work on off-highway equipment, working out in some of the worst environmental conditions imaginable. So I find it very disturbing that State Farm says they cannot find anything wrong, everything's within normal limits. Your problem is all normal wear and tear. You know, it's very disturbing to find out that I had one engine that was running perfectly, and within 30 days it just started, the power was reduced to about 30% of its normal amount. It started surging real bad, and it started burning oil at half a bottle a week. Basically within 150 miles it would take a half a bottle of engine oil. Before, it was taking a half a bottle of engine oil every 5,000 miles. It was in excellent running condition. And now I've got 3 vehicles out here that are just a total loss. I can't sell them because the engines are bad. It's cost me $1,000 to fix the brakes on a Toyota car because the master cylinder was ruined, and the calipers on the front wheels was damaged, along with the brake rotors, because the brakes would not release. They just burned up everything on the front wheels, along with the fluid problem to the hydraulics. Anytime you get contamination in a hydraulic brake system, all the hydraulics are trashed, period. And State Farm, their mechanic tried to convince me that the contamination would stay in the reservoir, it wouldn't go anywhere. And I don't agree with that. That's not what I was trained in college. That's not what the parts guys tell me. Nobody will tell you that. That's just an excuse to limit the scope of their liability. And let me tell you how much damage I have. see, it was in my power steering. I found dirt, some kind of a red color sand. It was stuck in the strainer screen in the bottom. Soap was discovered in the radiator. I don't know what they put in the that brake fluid, because it was an opaque, kind of clear, kind of yellow color, just like it was since the whole system was cleaned 6 months before. And then it turned into black just about overnight. Very dark black color. The seals inside the master cylinder were very hard. They were swollen up, and they were blocking the return port, and there was also fluid in the bottom of the master cylinder that turned to like jello. It would not discharge through the ports, even with the lines disconnected. And the engine oil was so dirty that it would barely rotate. I mean, when you'd cut it off, it would stop instantly, just like there was a brake on it, because there was so much dirt in the rotating assemblies. And that scratched everything up, and it's basically ruined it. Right now, it's got a whistling sound from too much crankcase pressure. It's gumming up the throttle body on it because it's blowing oil back in the throttle body. But when State Farm examined it, they said, well, your problem's normal wear and tear. There's nothing related to what you reported. And I took it to a Toyota dealership, and they said it had low compression. Tried to sell me a part that wouldn't fix it. I know that wouldn't fix it. And the technician was upset with me because I told him that wouldn't fix it. Toyota's really bad about selling services that are unwanted. So I took it to a Nissan place, a specialist on Asian vehicles. And I told them specifically I needed a vacuum reading on it. And they went ahead and did another compression test. I showed them my lab report. And they agreed that this dirt ruined the engine, and give me an estimate for $3,500 to replace the engine. That's in addition to the $1,000 it costs to fix the brakes. That doesn't even include what it took to wash out the cooling system or any other damage that was done to the car. Okay, and I've got a GM truck. Within 500 miles, the transmission messed up, like I told you. Dirt was discovered in it. The fluids in it was changed out 6 times. Cost $1,000 to get the dirt out of it. That's not for an overhaul. That's just to clean the dirt out of it. If I had it rebuilt, it'd be around $3,000 because they'd have to put a new torque converter in it. And right now the crankshaft's out in the truck. The guy from State Farm, he come out and said that the loss of oil pressure has nothing to do with the having dirt in the engine oil. He said that's perfectly normal, but it doesn't lose 10 pounds of oil pressure in 50 miles unless there's a problem. And the problem would be that the crankshaft bearings are ate up. It's got at least one rod bearing that's failing because it's got an audible rod knock before the oil pressure comes up. And then, now let's move on to my classic Mercedes. I just put a replacement engine in it. Just started it up. And then dirt was discovered in the engine oil. It wasn't running right. The longer it run, the sicker it got. And fluid was a fuel sample was collected off the fuel pump. And a visual inspection of it looked like a snow globe. There was so much soap and detergent floating around in that fuel that it looked like one of those little toy snow globes novelty things. And the fuel lines were disconnected and stuffed into a bottle of cooking oil. And then all of a sudden, within about a minute, it just started to smooth out and it sounded pretty normal. But yet, it's going to take at least 100 hours to take this engine apart and wash all the parts out. It'll be $1,000 to replace the oil cooler and the lines to it. And I'm stuck with the bill. State Farm is insisting that I take these vehicles to a garage, have them taken apart and examined at my own cost, just to prove to them that they're damaged. They won't accept the lab reports I have. because they weren't collected by a third party. They won't accept my expert opinion because I have a vested interest. However, the expert that State Farm sent out to do the evaluation has a vested interest in State Farm because he is an employee. He is an instructor for State Farm. He is also being paid by State Farm. So you can't tell me that his reports aren't influenced by his employer, knowing that he'll be penalized based on what his reports say. So I'm saying that these reports are not authentic. They're not independent. They're generated to dispute my claim, period. It's purely bad faith. And because State Farm is such a big, powerful empire that I can't even get an attorney to represent me, because they know that these insurance companies are ruthless when it comes to paying on claims. Since that thing with McDonald's and the coffee, insurance companies won't pay. They'll fight any claim tooth and nail unless it's unless the damage is very visual and evident that they have responsibility. And even then, they're gonna write their own rules about it. Say, well, we're gonna be like Medicare and pay 40 cents on the dollar. Is basically what it comes down to. But this is my interpretation of the bad faith I've received from State Farm. Upon the first indication that they were going to handle my claim, I told them straightforward that I would drop them like a rock if they weren't going to handle my claim properly, which I did. And I've since then received a notice from them that since I don't have an active claim, that they have no interest in my claims. Go figure. If they're not getting paid, they just close the file and says we're not going to do anything with it. Go pound sand somewhere. Go beat your fist against some concrete, whatever. Well, this is what I have today. Thanks for watching.